Is Julia Larson in the house? Julia, did you come all the way from Grayson, Georgia? You get to ask this question. All the way from Grayson, Georgia. What measures would you take to make health care more affordable for small businesses, like the micro businesses under 20 employees?
Okay, well, Cliff and I have run several businesses that size, so we're very sympathetic about the cost of health care. Let me say, first of all, and I'm amazed that this is not discussed more. The easiest single step to dramatically reduce the cost of health care is litigation reform. We did, when I was still at the Center for Health Transformation, we did a study between Jackson Health and the Gallup poll people. And they went out and they asked doctors what their estimate was of the amount of defensive medicine that was absolutely unnecessary, that was being practiced only because of the danger of a lawsuit. And they were shocked. They came back and said, the best estimate Gallup could come up with is that we spend $800 billion a year on unnecessary procedures in order to be ready to deal with trial lawyers. Now, that amount of money is a breathtaking number. And it's the largest single center of unnecessary cost in the health system. The second big unnecessary cost, frankly, is paying the crooks. The best estimate we have, and we published a book several years ago called Stop Paying the Crooks, which I thought was a title Washington would get. You see a book called Stop Paying the Crooks, at least you sort of get the framework. When the estimate started with the New York Times story was that over 10% of New York State Medicaid is paid to crooks. Now, when I say crooks, I don't mean a doctor or a hospital that makes a marginal mistake. I mean a dentist who filed 982 procedures a day. Or a dental office in Brooklyn that had somebody standing out front who said, if you will loan me your state Medicaid card, I'll give you a free DVD player. And it's this level. Or, frankly, the Russian mafia, which in Los Angeles dominates durable medical equipment. And our estimate, we went to American Express, Visa, MasterCard, and IBM, all of whom have expert systems. How many of you have ever had a phone call to make sure you were the person who was using your credit card? Raise your hand. How many of you have ever done this? So this is real, right? This is not a theory. And they all said, if you take the American Express example, they pay 0.03 of 1% to crooks. New York State Medicaid pays more than 10% to crooks. That means you as a taxpayer are 330 times, 33,000% more likely to pay a crook in Medicare and Medicaid than you are as an American Express, or Visa, or MasterCard holder. Now, how much money does that come to? Between 70 and 120 billion dollars a year. So the super committee was looking for $1.5 trillion, and they might have plausibly gotten $1 trillion just by using modern systems. But it is almost impossible to get the federal government to look at the world that works and rethink what it does. It is so deeply mired in a world that fails that it's an extraordinary, one of the greatest challenges of my administration will be to apply Lean Six Sigma across the whole system, end the 130-year civil service system, and move to a system of continuous improvement.
Newt used those two words, super committee. I really want to know what the definition of a super committee is in Washington, but we won't answer that question right now. Billy Mock. Billy, please explain your position on illegal immigration.
Sure. Let me start and go back to what I was talking about. There's a world that works and a world that fails. And the federal government's deeply mired in the world that fails. So the federal government today can't build a fence and can't control the border. 25 years after Ronald Reagan wrote in his diary that the reason he signed the Simpson-Mazzoli Act was in order to be able to control the border. In 25 years, we had a debate recently. One of my friends who's running for this office said that it would take 15 years to build a fence. I've written 2 novels about World War II. The Japanese attacked us on December 7th, 1941. They surrendered in August 1945. That means that in 3 years and 8 months, we defeated fascist Italy, Nazi Germany, and Imperial Japan. And today, we can't build a fence. So start with this concept of a world that works and a world that fails. The best example I can give you, how many of you have ever gone online to check for where a package is at UPS or FedEx? Raise your hand if you heard it. So, almost universal, right? This is not a theory. It's very important because people say, well, Gingrich has interesting ideas, but after all, you have to be practical. So it is true that UPS and FedEx have invented a system where you can literally track a package at no extra cost and in virtually real time know where it is. So here's the world that works. There are, I think, 24 million packages a day in UPS and FedEx combined. And they're being tracked while they move. There are an estimated 11 million people here illegally, and the federal government can't find them while they're sitting still. So one of my proposals is that we send everybody a package. And when UPS and FedEx delivers it, we know where they are because you just pull it up on the computer, right? Now, I'm partially trying to illustrate something about the whole failure of the modern bureaucratic state in Washington. What would I do? One, have a fence done, and this is at newt.org under the 21st Century Contract with America. Have a fence completed by January 1, 2014. If necessary, we're writing a bill right now that waives all environmental impact studies, waives all internal federal regulations, basically empowers somebody to get the job done exactly like in World War II. And I've said that if necessary, there are 23,000 employees of the Department of Homeland Security in the Washington area. I'm prepared to move half of them to Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. So part one is control the border. Part two is establish English as the official language of government. Part three is reestablish a serious understanding of American history as a predicate to citizenship and candidly apply the same principle to children growing up in America. Because becoming an American requires understanding American history. Part four is to actually improve the legal visa system. So if you want to come here legally as a tourist, as a student, for business, it should be relatively easy. Today we make it extraordinarily expensive and difficult. I think it takes 174 days in Brazil to apply for a legal visa. The amount of money we're losing in tourism, the amount of money we're losing in potential business deals, the number of people who ought to be able to come visit their relatives and go home is breathtaking. The next thing you do is you make deportation easy. If you are not an American citizen, you are not automatically entitled to all of the various defenses of the American system. And if you are a member, for example, if you are a member of MS-13, which is a very dangerous gang that's in over 100 American cities, membership of that gang should be automatic evidence you should be deported immediately without ever returning to the street. We then need a guest worker program, probably run by American Express, Visa, or MasterCard, so it's sophisticated. I'm quite serious. So it's sophisticated enough that you don't have cheating. I mean, you let the federal bureaucracy try to run a guest worker program, it'll be 10 or 15% fraud, just like Medicaid and Medicare. So you want to have a very sophisticated, very clean program. When you have that program, you want to dramatically increase the penalties on employers for hiring somebody illegally. Remember, there's no illegal worker without an illegal employer. And so you want to make it clear. Now, where I stirred some controversy tonight is quite simple. I said, all right, we've done all those things. And I would do them sequentially. I don't think you can pass a comprehensive bill. So I'd start with the fence, and I just keep going through, passing one bill a month and trying to get things done in an orderly way. Now you get to the people who are still here. I think they break into two clear groups. There are people who've come fairly recently, have no real ties. They should go home immediately, and there's no question about it. And you can find a way to require them to register. And since they would not be able to get a job without registering, you would have dramatically shrunk their desire to stay. And then there's a much smaller group. Take somebody who's been here 25 years. They've been obeying the law for 25 years. They've been paying taxes for 25 years. They're married. They have 3 kids, 2 grandkids. They belong to your church. Do you really think the American people are going to send police in to take that person away from their family? I don't. So how do you sort that out? I think we should go back to a World War II selective service model where local citizens certify at a local level where they actually know the person. If the person is a good citizen, has genuine ties to the United States, has genuine roots, they still don't get amnesty, they still don't get citizenship, they still don't get the right to vote. They do get the legal right to be a resident, and they can't enter the process of citizenship ahead of anybody back home who's obeyed the law, and they have to pay a penalty for having been here. I think the number that would affect is relatively small, but it's not non-existent. Several of my friends have said, I'm for amnesty. That's not true. At least one of them has run around saying, I want to have amnesty for 11 million people. That's just totally false. And that's, in fact, an Obama quality statement. The fact is, I don't see, as somebody's thought about it a long time, I don't believe you'll ever pass a bill which requires us to hunt down every single person who has been here for a quarter century. And I think there's a humane, orderly way to do this. The end result is most people have gone home. The people who are still here are within the law. There's a guest worker program that's economic. We've reasserted English as the official language. We now control the border. We've eliminated the future stream of people coming in. And I think it leaves us in dramatically better shape than we were before that.